Handoff, Adrian up the middle, room to the 20, cuts to the left to the 25, and Adrian's loose! He splits the defense! 50, 40, 30, goodbye, baby! Touchdown!
We bleed purple, and our bones are gold. Hear the horns coming out of our dome, behold. We are Minnesota Vikings fans. We love when a player scores.
Hey there, Minnesota Vikings fans, and welcome to the Purple People podcast. My name is Kyle West. Adam Carlson is out there, and we are ready to talk about the preseason game week number 3 against the San Francisco 49ers. What's up, Adam?
Not too much. I was expecting a big intro again this week, but nothing.
No.
I thought you were going to say the Veronica Corningstone to my Ron Burgundy.
No, I could have maybe had I actually wrote something down, but I'm running with minimal notes this week, and by minimal I mean basically none.
That's fine.
Yeah.
We don't need any notes because you know why? This is the Purple People podcast.
And
this is episode number 64. And I have a title for it.
You do?
It's called Too Hot to Randle.
Oh, okay.
Now, I know a lot of you guys probably haven't seen this movie because it is not one that's recent, but it is a take off the 1938 classic Clark Gable movie, Too Hot to Handle.
Mm-hmm. Because
I don't know if you guys love classic cinema, but I do.
If there's one thing that we're good at here at the podcast, that's making references to 1930s pop culture.
Yes. Love 30s pop culture. Sign up, because we're there.
The kids
but we're also big fans of Bradley Randle, so.
We are. I really.
And John Randle.
Yeah, both of them are fantastic.
And lots of Randles.
All kinds of. We should just get going on with the show because this is an odd. This is an
all Randle show.
Yeah, how many Randles have we had? Could we have an all Randle team for the Vikings?
Well, we could give it a whirl. Why not?
John Randle.
Let's go into social media.
Let's. This one I gotta give you credit for. You posted this on our Facebook page about an hour ago. You asked our lovely viewers that, Ponder ended the night. He was 17 for 23 for 116 yards, 2 TDs, and an interception. Were you satisfied with his performance? Wide range of answers out here. And I want to start with Andrew Tanner, because I think he probably had the most poignant one. With AP in the back, that would be backfield, Ponder will be a whole different story. Now, I agree with you 110%, Andrew, because Adrian Peterson is our offense. Without him on the field, that's like seeing the Patriots. Without Tom Brady, it's like seeing the Broncos. Without Peyton Manning, you're not really getting the whole story.
It's true. I really enjoyed Nathan Lee Goskeson. I'll go with Goskeson. He said he was okay. A fumble and int weren't his fault. I agree that it'll be different once Peterson's back there and the games matter. I would have liked to have seen more of the offense and Ponder, but it's only the preseason. So yeah, don't weigh it too much. Understand that situations will be different later on. And also that interception, that crossing route there that, well, I guess it was a slant that Burton kind of gave up on. No, that would have been a nice play if Burton would have kept running. But then again, he had a guy in his face that might have taken his helmet off. But, what can you do?
John had another, because I'm on both sides of the equation with this. It's like, yes, Adrian wasn't on the field, but John typed on here, no, he basically wasn't satisfied because yards per pass attempt still too low. I agree. They need to do a better job of stretching the field, and I don't care if Adrian's not out there. They need to stop with the dink and dunk passes. We've seen a little bit every now and then. I know Jennings had a couple passes, couple decent catches where he was out there,
right.
But we still need to see more. We still need to see more progression.
Another one of my favorites came right away as soon as I posted the question. It was from Steve Grover. He just wrote, no.
Yeah, I'm looking
Not
at that.
pleased. I guess he was not pleased.
I'm looking at that one right now on my screen. I like Brandon Brown right underneath it. It's Musgrave. He's the worst offensive coordinator in the NFL. His choices are pretty ridiculous. I agree with you, Brandon. There are times that I'm ready to punch Bill Musgrave directly in the jaw because of just some of the choices that he makes. And maybe this could be because it's preseason, they don't want to show their hands to what the full playbook is going to look like. But at the same time, get out there and practice it, and just quit trying to be cute and maybe run some actual routes with Patterson and Jennings.
Well, I
And
think the Vikings weren't trying to give away too much from their offense. I think they've practiced some explosive plays, but right now I don't think that they're ready to show a lot of their cards.
yeah, I
Meanwhile, we had Aaron Howard, who felt every chance that he could to talk about how much he dislikes Josh Robinson's play, and he posted it on every post today. So I appreciate his persistence,
mhm.
and his opinion is his. That's cool, but you're a little off topic, buddy. But back on topic. Brandon Brown, who you already read one from, said, "I'm waiting for the Start Castle rant. Castle is, and I'll paraphrase this, poop. I don't know why we would sign him." Oh, Castle.
I'm sure you're going to have a good rant about Castle. I'm going to have a little bit of one too with him later on in the show. Brandon Brown, we got to thank you for talking to us on Facebook. You had some good stuff for us here.
Yeah, nice insight from everybody. Thank you for sharing with us. We look forward to more of this, especially with the next preseason game coming up when we're going to see a lot of the other guys that are going to be fighting to make the roster. And
We're going to see
there.
we're going to see a whole lot of James Vandenberg, and you're going to see exactly why we hated him in Iowa.
Should be fun.
No, it's going to be a train wreck.
All right, let's go into our quick hits, and let's talk about the one that confused me right away off the bat. It's Christian Ballard being placed on the active/left squad list for personal reasons. Now, I still haven't heard any reasoning, and you know what? If it's personal, that's fine. I don't need to know. Just I hope things clear up with him, things get better, and he can return to the team happy, healthy, and all that stuff.
I did a little digging into this, and there's been absolutely no word as to the reason why he was placed on this. Like you said, it's probably a personal reason, whether that means death in the family or, whatever. It's not our place to speculate.
Right.
The digging that I did, I wanted to know what exactly this meant, because I had never heard of it before. Basically, it means he doesn't count towards the Vikings roster. They still hold the rights to him, so for when he comes back, he gets to be a Minnesota Viking, but we're not paying him while he is gone. So
it's like an unpaid leave, but you're not terminated. I get it.
Exactly. This was similar to what, remember when Percy Harvin had the was his grandmother or someone that passed away.
Yeah.
This was what Percy was placed on to give him that leave of absence from the Vikings.
We also had Leslie Frazier say that he's optimistic that fullback Jerome Felton will be ready for the season opener. Now, the surgery he had isn't something that's super serious, but you don't want to rush a player back before he's ready to play, so it's good that he's taking the time to heal up.
Yeah, totally.
And let's be honest, we know what he can do, and he's not really necessary in preseason right now anyway. Speaking of preseason, I know, well, I'll save this for the rant. Save it for the rant. Anyway, the Vikings have released cornerback Jacob Lacey. Now, injuries really hurt his chances of making the 53-man roster, but this move shows that the team has confidence in a lot of the young guys like Josh Robinson and Bobby Felder to step up. We saw Sharif Floyd go down with a knee injury recently, and he had a minor procedure that's going to keep him out for the rest of the preseason. Hopefully, we won't have to rely on him too much immediately, because we saw Kevin Williams take a pretty nasty hit today that it kind of made me sick. Knees don't bend like that.
From what I've heard, though, I do believe that Kevin is okay, and I believe if this would have been a regular season game, he probably would have sat out for a couple of plays. Probably one would have went right back in, but they're playing
Yeah, he
it.
was on the sideline. He had it iced. He's probably all right.
Yeah, playing it on the side of caution a little bit with Kevin. I believe that Sharif, I don't think that he'll miss any significant time from that, either from what I have heard.
No, it doesn't sound like anything
Nope.
significant at all. Now, I told you that the Vikings cut Lacey, but they did sign someone. It was a defensive end named Spencer Neely, who I've never really heard of prior to this. And I don't think I saw him in action today, and if I did, I don't remember. So, Spencer Neely, welcome to the Vikings.
I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot of Spencer in the fourth preseason game.
I felt bad because when I posted that Spencer had joined the team on the Facebook page, I spelled his name wrong. Sorry, Spencer. But if that's the worst that happens to you, that's good. That's okay.
If you guys were watching my camera right now, I just pulled pepperonis out of my pocket.
Oh, wow. There you go.
I wonder if Adam caught that one.
Start calling you Pepperoni Pocket, which is a terrible nickname, and that should never be anyone's nickname. But the Vikings Ring of Honor center, Mick Tingelhoff, will have another shot at getting in the Football Hall of Fame. I wish him luck. I think he deserves it. He was one heck of a player, one heck of a guy.
Mm-hmm.
Do it, Mick. Do it.
Yeah, we need more Vikings in the Hall of Fame. You can never have too many.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Aaron Henderson suffered an ankle injury in practice. I don't know why I can't say that right now, but luckily it wasn't serious, and he was able to play in the game today, so thank you for scaring us all, Aaron, and yourself. He said that, and he was quoted to say when it happened that he was terrified. Good thing he didn't have anything to worry about.
Mm-hmm.
My last quick hit, Vikings center John Sullivan says that he is feeling confident about his knee. Confidence is one of the most important things following a microfracture surgery. It's good to hear Sullivan is out there and ready to kick buns again. That'll do it for my quick hits.
Which means it is time to move over to the recap of the 49ers preseason game. The score, again, is basically meaningless, but the 49ers won 34-14 for those who care about such things. We got to see our biggest look at Christian Ponder and the Vikings starting offense so far in 2013. What do you think, Adam?
Well, I'm going to do my rant right now.
Okay.
All right, all week long, all the major hype about this game was that we were finally going to get to see Adrian Peterson. The thoughts of him holding that football, running towards the end zone, juking guys out, plowing guys over. That's what we all think of when we think of Adrian Peterson, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not a guy that would go in for 2 plays, act as a decoy, just to allow some play-action passes and then go back to the sideline. So, Vikings, I understand your ploy of Peterson's going to start and all that, and then to not play him a whole lot. I get it. As a fan, I hate it. I wanted to see 28 running wild. But let's talk about the positives. Which we got to see Christian Ponder spread the ball around to a lot of different receivers. And one thing that I really love, that I wrote about prior to the game, if you follow my work on the VikingAge.com, where I'm a writer, and I write things there, and people read them, just respond, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. But anyway, I wrote about how Cordero Patterson was going to have an opportunity to work with the first team and catch passes from Christian Ponder. Well, after watching this, I saw some nice short passes completed. I saw a couple down the field routes where he slanted in. I am kind of liking this chemistry between the two. And this is something that I would really love to see develop further.
I am with you 110%, Mr. Carlson. I believe that Patterson needs to see an expanded role with the first unit offense. And this is not necessarily a knock against guys like Stephen Burton or Jerome Simpson, because I like both those guys in
Oh, me too.
certain roles for the Vikings. They can fill a very specific need. But there's a reason why Patterson was taken in the first round of the draft. And that's because he can do very talented things with the football in his hand. And he's a bit like, I'm going to use Percy Harvin as an analogy, because Percy was one of those receivers where you don't really care how they got the ball into his hands. It was just a matter of find a way to get the ball into his hands and let him do what he can do. That's exactly what they should be concentrating with on Patterson at the moment. I really don't care how they get him the football, even if it's stupid little end arounds and dink and dunk passes mixed in. Bubble screens mixed in with the occasional slant or whatever. Just get him the football, because he's going to make people miss. He's got the big size and the big frame to where if the ball's not quite on target, he should be able to use the size to his advantage and make a nice catch out of it.
And right now, the most important thing, not only for Patterson, for the whole defense, is experience. Mm-hmm. Working together, getting things on page. Because as we saw in the game, as the game went on longer and longer, we saw, like, into the second quarter, the offense calmed down a bit. The offensive line settled. Mm-hmm. We saw that especially Khalil looked rattled out there. Now, he is going against some of the best defenders in the NFL when you go against San Francisco. I mean, those two Smith boys, they're nothing to joke about. But we need to see more disciplined play. We need more consistency. And those are two things that come with experience and with good coaching. And those are two things that the Vikings can have and will be able to do for this team.
Mm-hmm. Now, speaking of experience on our wide receiving unit, it was really nice to see Greg Jennings be out there for an extended period of time and to actually have him make a couple catches and do a couple smart things that you would expect from a veteran wide receiver. And I do like him and Ponder. They're starting to get on the same page a little bit. And we need to see this if this offense is going to click for Minnesota.
Definitely. And we saw the ball spread around to a lot of people. No Viking had more than 3 catches. I mean, Burton was the only one that had 3. Otherwise, we had Simpson, Jennings, Chase Ford, Toby Gerhardt, Cordero Patterson. They all had 2. John Carlson had 3. That's my bad there. Otherwise, any other pass catcher had one catch. So we got to see the ball spread around a lot to a lot of different people, and that is one of the things that I wanted to see too, because we are in the preseason. You guys have to remember, as well as us, because I get impatient sometimes too, that this isn't going to be the first team all the way through. We're going to see passes to guys like Chris Summers and Lamarck Brown. And sure, well, these guys might not make the 53-man roster. Right now, they still need to be evaluated. And these are guys that could make an impact for the team in the near future. So, well, you see Vanderberg out there with Lamarck Brown. Remember, hey, we're looking at the future.
Not if Vandenberg is on the field. What was I going to say? You see, you got me sidetracked with James Vandenberg. I was thinking all the awful passes I seen him make in his career at Iowa.
Were they worse than the passes you saw Castle throw?
He had some McNabb-style passes. We'll get to Castle here in a minute.
Okay.
I want to talk about Christian Ponder first.
Let's do it.
And I want to start off by saying I am right with a good percentage of the fans when I can say that I am tired of making the excuse that Adrian Peterson isn't on the field. Now, I know what I said earlier in the show about how, Peterson is our Tom Brady. He is our Peyton Manning. He is our offense. That's how important of a player he is. But at the same time, Christian Ponder is our quarterback. And he has to have a good bulk of the responsibility lay on his shoulders for this team to be successful. And there are certain aspects of his game that I am getting really tired of seeing. And I know this is only preseason game number 3, and we've seen him in very limited fashion, but his happy feet, his dancing in the pocket, this has to stop. He has to get over this. He's got a good offensive line in front of him. Okay, he's got Sullivan, he's got Khalil, he's got Lodeholt, he's got talent in front of him, and I know that they've looked a little shaky from times so far, but there's other times that Ponder, you can just tell that he sees his first read isn't quite open, and he's dancing in the backfield, and you can just tell that he's ready to shoot out of that pocket, and I just want to see him, and I know this is an unfair comparison, but you look at someone like Drew Brees. Drew Brees is excellent at standing in the pocket and knowing how to take advantage of that and how to make his first read, his second read, his third read, and maybe even come back to his, my first read is open, and then make it. And he's so good about knowing when to scramble out of the pocket at the correct time. And I am ready for Ponder to make that next step, to know when to make his correct reads and to not get the happy feet. He needs to get over that dancing around that he does, because that drives me absolutely nuts. And I want to know your take on this too a little bit, Adam.
Well, I'll be absolutely honest. It doesn't bother me as much as it bothers you. I understand that the pressure coming up the middle can be a little much, and he can roll the outside pretty easily because he does have the good tackles to block out there, and he does have someone to pick up the blocks, usually in the back. But we only saw Ponder rush 4 times and take 1 sack. Now, if we can keep that for Christian Ponder, that's not too bad, especially considering that otherwise he had 23 attempts to go with those 4 rushes and 1 sack. So he stood back there 28 times and only took off running on 4 of them.
It's not so much the 4 attempts at rushing that drive me nuts, because he is more athletic than I think what people want to give him credit for. You know, he does have the ability to make plays with his feet, and we will always welcome that to our game. What I don't like is when he does stay in the pocket, he doesn't really ever seem to look fully comfortable in the pocket, and he doesn't look like he sets his feet. I just want to see him settle down, and hopefully that'll come when the regular season gets here and we've got Adrian in the backfield, and they get more time as an offensive unit to develop more chemistry. I hope we can see that from him.
I don't think we'll see it until we see improved play at the guard position. Until then, I think we're going to see a lot more scrambling and stepping around in the pocket and all that. But on a positive note, Christian Ponder did look a lot better than Matt Castle today. Now, we didn't get to see Vanderberg today. I know that probably made Kyle West sad.
Nope, not at all.
But Matt Castle's stat line, when you compare that to Christian Ponder's stat line, if people aren't pleased with the game Christian Ponder had, they should be downright upset with Matt Castle. Matt Castle was throwing balls at the ground. He was whipping balls far out of bounds. He overshot wide receivers that shouldn't be overshot. He was bouncing balls off defenders so that wide receivers could catch them.
That was my favorite play of the game, by the way.
That made me sick.
You know why? Because usually when something dumb like that happens, it happens against the Vikings. You know what I mean? And
I do.
Finally, we had one of those weird, crazy plays that went in our favor, and of course, it's in a preseason game where it doesn't matter at all. But it was funny to watch that happen.
It was. But overall, I think the clamoring for Matt Castle as the starting quarterback has to maybe not stop, because I understand that a lot of people aren't going to be pleased with Ponder, so they are entitled to their opinion, but just slow down and evaluate a little more, because Matt Castle, when you think of him, I know you think about the success he had in New England, but if he couldn't have the same amount of success in Kansas City with a semi-elite running back there and a top wide receiver in Dwayne Bowe, I'm not sure what else you could really ask for the guy, you know. I'm not really sure.
Well, on the flip side, to play devil's advocate, because I know there's a lot of Castle fans, supporters out there for whatever reason, you can make the argument that, you know, he was playing with twos at that point. So, being a veteran quarterback, playing with players that, you know, he knows maybe aren't going to be running the best of routes, maybe aren't going to give him the best of protection, that could be why he looked the way he looked, you know, not up to par with what you would expect.
But when you're playing with twos against threes, you should have the advantage.
Well, yeah, you should.
But let's talk about the guy who I named this episode after, Bradley Randle.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Bradley Randle is a guy that is exciting. He only got 2 carries for 12 yards, but his 6 yards per rush led the Vikings running backs in the average per rush category, which is awesome. Now, Toby Gerhart had 7 rushes for 20 yards, and 12 of those came on one run. So we saw the bulldozer Toby Gerhart again, and to be honest, I don't know. For some reason, I still am thinking of him as a fullback. It's not working for me as being the dynamic runner that everyone thinks that he really is. We'll have to wait and see again what the Vikings do with him after this season, because we've speculated on that.
I must be in a cynical mood today or tonight, but I'm just not feeling it for Gerhart that much anymore for the Vikings, to the point where I know there was the one play, you know, Patterson had the catch, it was on 3rd and inches, and, you know, they go to hand the ball off to Gerhart, and it completely wasn't his fault that as soon as he got the handoff, he was blown up with a defender in his face. I know that wasn't his fault, but at the same time, I almost felt like even if he didn't get completely blown up, he wasn't going to convert that anyway. Like, I'm starting to almost lose faith in him, and I hate to say that because I've been a supporter of his for so long. But
I honestly wouldn't be surprised if the Vikings try to work out some kind of trade for Gerhart, and they end up keeping Bradley Randle and Zach Line.
Thank you for mentioning Zach Line. I know we've talked quite a bit about Bradley Randle, and we'll continue to talk about him when he makes the 53, but Zach Line is a guy that it's harder and harder to stay quiet about him and just go, oh, well, he was in the right place at the right time with a good block here and a good block there, and it's like he's constantly finding ways to make plays with the football, and there's a point where you have to go, maybe that Zach Line is going to make the roster. Because
Did you see that touchdown that he had?
Yes, I did.
Did you see what play it was? It was that tight end trap.
Yeah.
They run that trap so much, man.
Yeah.
But Zach Line, that's not taking away from his ability or his desire, because, man, he has looked good, and it's going to be hard for the Vikings to keep him off the 53 with what he's accomplished so far.
Yeah, I know. That's what you want to see.
We saw the end around from Patterson. That was kind of fun. He gained 4 yards on that when I thought he was going to lose 3 or 4.
Yeah, I absolutely hate end arounds and bubble screens. I don't know. I'm not a fan of that, because we have the greatest running back in the NFL to run from behind the line of scrimmage. We don't need to line our wide receivers up 4 yards behind the line of scrimmage and throw passes to them. I hate that. But
I love looking at Zach Line's stat line. It's like ones all the way across. 1 reception, 1 target, 1 yard, average 1, long 1, touchdown 1. It's just fun to look at.
Yeah, and it's funny that we talk so highly of him based on that, but so you just gotta watch the game and see, people.
Well, so far every game he's done something that makes you go, oh, there's that Zach Line guy. I remember him.
That's what you look for in preseason. This is why preseason games are important. yes, they get a little boring and sloppy towards the end of them when you get guys in there like that, but you want to see someone who stands out and you keep constantly going, who is that? Because you go, who is that enough times, and you eventually stop going, who is that? And you go, oh, that's Zach Line. And that's what he's doing right now, and that's fun. And you like to see that competition.
Definitely.
Mhm.
We also got to see Jeff Locke do some pretty impressive punting inside the 20. We saw one that landed at the 1.
That was nice. That was the one where I stood up and went, wow.
That was impressive.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, here's another little thing that bothered me. The block in the back on that kickoff return.
Oh.
I really, really believe that he would have been caught and taken down if not for that block in the back.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I understand refs can't see everything and mistakes can be made. And that, yeah, someone else probably should have been able to get to him and tackle him. I get all that.
Mm-hmm.
But as soon as I saw the flag go down, I'm like, yeah, it's coming back. And when it didn't, I was one frowning, unhappy guy.
My friend Mike I was watching the game with, he has the TV, the fancy TV thing where you can rewind the live television, which I don't have that at home. And, yeah, we rewound that like 3 times, and he's like, look, block in the backfield. So, yeah. I seen it too. I know exactly what you're talking about.
And we saw Blair Walsh connect on 2 extra points. Now, who else? I know that it was that awesome punt by Jeff Locke that landed at the 1, but in that situation, we wanted to see Blair Walsh try that 60-yarder, didn't we?
Yeah, I did. It's preseason. Why not?
I wanted to see it.
I did.
Maybe I was in the minority there, but I was like, bring him out there. Let's do it.
I think he can do it. I totally think he can hit him from that distance on a consistent enough basis that it could be a legitimate part of the Vikings playbook. But
now, I made Desmond Bishop, I made him my GOAT last week.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking about how he looked so out of place and how he looked slow. It was the exact opposite this week.
He had a nice showing for the Vikings.
He was everywhere. He was quick. He was quick to react on the ball. It was actually really, really nice.
Perhaps last week really just was him knocking the rust off the tires, and this week the engine was finally roaring for him, and we got to see what he can do. I was impressed by him as well. And this is keeping in mind that he was out there with the first string unit for a while too.
Yep, he was playing with the number 1s.
This is not just comparing him to 4th string guys that aren't even going to make the 49ers. This is like him with the actual defense out there.
Speaking of the actual defense, I was disappointed in the corner play.
Mm-hmm.
We saw a lot of weak, soft play, and I understand that's part of the Vikings defense. I know that it's like I said last week. I know it's the vanilla scheme that they're running during the preseason because they don't want to give too much away. But we did see a touch of goodness from Xavier Rhodes with some physical play. Josh Robinson had 6 tackles, but he did give up some touches.
Mm-hmm.
And overall, I'd just like to see some better play. Bobby Felder made a couple nice plays. He's a guy that, again, is going to be tough for the team when it comes to cut day. He's going to be one of the guys that they're going to be arguing over whether or not he should be on the team.
I think he makes the roster. He's stepped it up in the special teams department, and that is where a guy like him is going to ultimately make or break his ability to be on the 53, and him showing what he's showed on special teams, I think he's part of the final roster. I will say that as a whole, I was impressed with the Vikings' first unit defense. I agree with what you said about the corners needing to improve, but I think you factor in everything else, we're going to have a top-notch defense in Minnesota this year.
We saw Chris Cook leave the game with a hip injury.
Yeah,
and that's never good.
I forgot about that. That was a point I was going to bring up. Do you think Chris Cook is a long-term answer for the Minnesota Vikings?
Here's the thing. I like Chris Cook. I do.
Hmm.
I think he's one of those corners that when you give him time, he will be able to develop into a really good player. He's shown flashes of that against guys like Kelvin Johnson and other number ones in the NFL.
Hmm.
But I really am worrying about his durability because
Yeah.
we've seen him out on so many injuries. We've seen him having problems in his personal life that resulted in him losing time
Hmm.
on the football field. And I don't know. To be honest, I'm not sure.
And let's cut him a little bit of slack here, and we'll say he appears to have the personal issues behind him.
Yes.
Okay? Lots of players have had Chris Carter had personal demons, overcame them. He's in the Hall of Fame. So I'm not even going to hold that against him. What I am going to go back. You said time, Adam, is that he needs time. Well, he's almost coming into 4 years for the Vikings. How much more time are we really going to be willing to give to Chris Cook?
But the problem is, too, when you look at the 4 years, not a lot of those were years on the field.
Exactly. I don't know how much more time they should spend with him. And, yeah, I don't know. Maybe that means letting him test free agency after this year and seeing what happens with that. And if he chooses to come back, he chooses to come back. If not, maybe it's for the best. It's really early to make those kind of predictions, so I don't want to get into that too much right now. But
That'll be interesting to see the negotiations as the season goes on.
he needs to stay healthy and play at a high level for the Minnesota Vikings for this defense to succeed the way we need it to succeed.
I agree totally.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's all I have for this week.
Yeah, Joe Webb. You didn't mention Joe Webb one bit. I will say he's battling with Stephen Burton. We've documented that in the past.
Yeah.
It's interesting just how hard of a decision it is, even though we've said so much that we've liked about Stephen Burton. In this week's game, he stops on that route.
Otherwise, he played a fantastic game.
He did.
Grab that he had on, or that he's trying to make on the sidelines, that was athletic as all be right there.
He did, but he stops on the route, which was a dumb, boneheaded move.
Yes.
And then Joe Webb is able to show off his natural athletic ability, which is the reason why people have gravitated to Joe Webb so much to begin with, where in the end zone, he jumps
Goes up and gets it.
He looks like a natural when he grabs that pass. And
well, you've seen the YouTube videos of him leaping on the boxes, right?
Yeah, definitely. And
combine that with his height, he'll be able to outjump almost any defender.
Yeah, and you know what I was thinking, Adam? That is why Joe Webb probably should have been a wide receiver all along instead of wasting him with a quarterback.
Yeah, it was an interesting decision.
Mm-hmm.
Sadly, it didn't work out, but oh well, what can you do? And remember, the next Vikings preseason game is Thursday, so you don't got to wait long for more Vikings football. 7 p.m. Central Time, Vikings versus Titans. Remember, we're not going to see a lot of the number ones. But still, it's Vikings football. I'll be watching. You'll be watching.
We're going to see McLeod. We're going to see McLeod Bethel Thompson.
We are.
Yeah, that'll be fun. I'm always interested.
See him and James Vanderbeek.
Vandenberg, not that it matters.
Oh yes.
He won't be here past next week, but we're always interested. I know I'm actually interested to see and McLeod Bethel Thompson and what he can do in an extended look, because like we've said, Castle probably not long term for Vikings at number 2, and McLeod hopefully can show enough to be that answer for the Minnesota.
I'll say the same thing I always say. Kid's got a cannon.
Mm-hmm.
But that'll do it for me this week. Do you have anything that you'd like to add?
No, I think that'll be a wrap on this week's show.
All right. I'd like to thank everyone for listening. Check out the Facebook page, the Twitter page where you can talk to Kyle because I know he gets lonely.
From time to time.
We got the YouTube page where all our videos are hosted.
Mm-hmm.
Check us out, iTunes, all those pages. And remember, to stay classy, Minnesota.
gold. Hear the horns coming out of our dome, behold. We are Minnesota Vikings fans. We love when a player scores, we roar, ignite the stands. We bleed purple, and our bones are gold. We're the kings of the north, our slogan skull. No Packer, no bear, no lion can beat us. We will punish anyone if they try to defeat us. He's the MVP, appreciated greatly. Running all day, 2K, that's AP. Make a defense cry, or maybe beg. ACL stands for Adrian's crazy leg. He's the heart of the team, 28, holding up that Lombardi is a part of the dream. We will never give up, we find the faith to move past.